Close your eyes for a moment and imagine that we made it. The last two videos asked hard questions: whether we'd survive the climb to a Type 1 civilization, whether the Great Filter is waiting somewhere ahead of us disguised as progress. Tonight, set the fear aside. Imagine the answer was yes, we passed, the bottleneck is behind us, and no one alive even remembers how close it was. What happens then? Not in a century, in 1,000 years, 10,000. When the children of your children's children have never known a world that could end, what does a civilization become once nothing can kill it anymore? This is not science fiction. Physicists have mapped this path in surprising detail because unlike culture, unlike politics, energy obeys laws we already know. You can't predict what your descendants will believe or love or fight about, but you can predict what they will need. And that single thread of physics leads somewhere genuinely strange. It leads to your descendants taking apart a planet to catch a star. First, understand what passing the filter actually means. A Type 1 civilization, the level we're climbing toward, commands the full energy of its planet. Fusion power, whether brought under control, a single coordinated world. For a while that feels like the end of history. The struggles that filled every previous era, famine, energy wars, a burning climate, all quietly closed. It isn't the end, it's an incubator, because growth doesn't stop. It never has. 2 centuries ago, almost everything humanity did was powered by wood, wind, and muscle. Today we use roughly 1,000 times more energy, and the curve is still climbing a few percent a year, compounding as quietly and relentlessly as interest. That same force turned villages into megacities in a handful of generations. Run it forward, and within a few thousand years of reaching Type 1, civilization hits a hard wall. Its planet simply cannot supply what it needs. Every watt of sunlight falling on every surface, every atom of fuel in the crust, spoken for, and still not enough. At that point there's exactly one energy source left worth having: the star itself. Your sun releases more energy in a single second than human civilization has used in its entire history. Every fire, every engine, every power plant since the beginning. Outdone in one heartbeat of one ordinary star, and almost all of it right now is radiating uselessly into empty space. Unclaimed, unwatched. A Type 2 civilization is simply one that stopped letting it go to waste. So how do you catch a star? Not with a solid shell. That's the science fiction version, and physics hates it. No material in the universe is strong enough, and a rigid sphere around a star is gravitationally unstable. The slightest drift and it collides with the very sun it encloses. The real answer is softer and stranger. A swarm, billions of thin collectors, each one light as foil and large as a country, orbiting the sun in layered, independent rings. Drinking its light, the construction plan reads like a heist. Step 1, choose a victim: Mercury. Rich in metals, no atmosphere to fight, no life to mourn, and park conveniently beside the power source. Step 2, land a small fleet of self-replicating machines. They mine, they smelt, they build copies of themselves, and every copy builds more collectors, and every collector powers more machines. Exponential growth does the rest. The first year, you would barely see anything, a few quiet factories on a dead world. Then the curve turns the way exponential curves always do: slowly, then all at once. Serious engineering studies suggest the entire planet could be dismantled and the swarm completed within a few decades of the first machine touching down. Sit with that timescale for a second. The pyramids took decades, the cathedrals took centuries, disassembling a planet takes decades. The difference isn't effort or courage, it's exponential growth finally unleashed on something worthy of it. And here's the detail nobody warns you about. From the old home world, the sky changes. Your descendants would watch their own sun grow gradually dimmer behind the shimmer of a trillion machines, not a catastrophe but a renovation. The largest construction project in the history of matter. And from far away, from some other world's telescope, it would look like something else entirely. It would look like a star quietly going out. Remember that image, it matters later. Now the strange part, not the engineering, the living. With the full output of a star, scarcity stops being a fact of physics and becomes a memory. Energy is wealth at the deepest level. With enough of it you can synthesize food from raw atoms, desalinate oceans as an afterthought, take apart asteroids and print continents. A Type 2 civilization doesn't fight over resources because the sentence barely parses anymore. It would be like fighting over air. Where do they live? Probably not on planets. Planets are wasteful, almost all of their mass is locked uselessly beneath your feet. The same material rebuilt into orbital habitats, vast rotating cylinders with lakes, forests, whether of their own, could hold 1,000,000 times more life than a planetary surface. Earth itself, some suggest, would be retired with honors. Preserved as a garden, a museum, the protected original. Visited the way we visit the ruins of something sacred. Death too begins to negotiate, not only through medicine, through redundancy. A civilization spread across billions of independent habitats cannot be ended by a plague, an asteroid, a war, or a single dying ecosystem. There is no single point of failure left anywhere. Physicists put it bluntly: a Type 2 civilization is effectively immortal, and immortality changes time itself. When nothing forces an ending, a project can run for 10,000 years. A question can be studied for longer than our species has existed. Patience stops being a virtue and becomes a lifestyle, and when even the star misbehaves, you fix the star. This is real, published astrophysics. Star lifting, peeling excess mass off your sun so it burns cooler and slower, stretching its life from billions of years to hundreds of billions. Or the Sh-Kadov thruster. a colossal mirror hovering above one pole of the star, turning its own light into a slow, patient thrust, steering the entire solar system across the galaxy like a ship. Your descendants may never travel to the stars. They may travel with one, but maybe the deepest change is quieter than any of this. Some physicists suspect a mature Type 2 civilization converts much of its captured starlight into something else entirely: computation. Nested layers of processors wrapped around the star, a matryoshka brain running minds, memories, entire simulated worlds of thought. At that point, the swarm is no longer a power plant. It's a mind wearing a star. And whether the beings inside are still biological, still anything you would recognize as us, is a question the engineering cannot answer. Type 2 is where the detailed engineering ends. Beyond it we can only sketch, so let's sketch briefly. A Type 3 civilization is what happens when the swarm learns to travel. Probes cross to a neighboring star, build a new swarm from local asteroids and dead worlds, and launch the next generation onward. Each hop takes centuries. Covering the galaxy takes a few million years. That sounds unimaginable, until you remember the galaxy is more than 10 billion years old. There has been time for this to happen 1,000 times over with room to spare. At that scale, even stars stop being the best fuel. The ultimate engine in this universe is a black hole, matter spiraling and releases dozens of times more energy than the fusion that powers suns. A true Type 3 civilization might farm them, the way we once farmed rivers. And a galaxy being claimed would not announce itself with ships or broadcasts. It would look like that image from earlier, repeated 100 billion times. Stars quietly going out, not vanishing, shifting. Their visible light swallowed by machinery and re-radiated as waste heat, a warm infrared glow where a galaxy used to shine. Here is the remarkable part: we actually looked. A team of astronomers surveyed 100,000 galaxies. Searching for exactly that fingerprint, the heat signature of harvested starlight on a galactic scale, they found nothing, not one convincing candidate. Silence again, which returns us to the question haunting this entire series. If the path from Type 1 to Type 3 requires nothing but patience and exponential growth, where is everyone? Either the filter stops nearly everything before the swarm stage, or the beings on the other side become something so quiet, so inward, that a galaxy full of them looks exactly like an empty one. We genuinely do not know which. So come back, stand in the present under the one star we haven't touched yet. Everything in this video obeys known physics. No warp drives, no exotic matter, no miracles, just energy, patience, and time. Which means the strangest thing you heard tonight is not a fantasy. It is a forecast. If we pass the filter, if the answer to the last video's question turns out to be yes, then something like this is simply what comes next. The blueprints are already written. Only the builders are missing. But notice what the physics never answered. We know how they would harvest a star, we don't know what they would want. When nothing can kill you, nothing is scarce, and every struggle that ever shaped your species is finished. What is left to reach for? Does a civilization like that still tell stories? Does it still fall in love with questions? Does it still look up? Maybe the real filter was never about surviving. Maybe it's about having a reason to. Somewhere in your galaxy right now, there may be a mind wearing a star, silent for 1,000,000 years, thinking about exactly this. What do you think it decided? If you'd like to keep wondering with us, subscribe.